everybody can keep talking. We're short on quorum, so I'm waiting for another counselor. So keep talking. Don't stare at us because we're not ready.
Chair, good morning. Do we have quorum?
Good morning, Councillor. You are quorum. Okay, good morning, everybody. I am calling this meeting to order. My name is Councillor Paul Ainsley. I'm the chair of the General Government Committee. We have quorum. I'm now calling meeting number 11 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at City Hall in Committee Room number 1. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. For the land acknowledgement, I would like to say on behalf of the members, although we may be meeting in different locations today, the General Government Committee would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge Toronto is covered by Treaty Number 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. If you're registered to speak at today's meeting, sorry, there are no speakers registered for today's meeting. I would like to remind everybody the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members of the committee if you need help with your devices. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at ggc@toronto.ca to help with motions. At this point, I'll ask if there's any declarations of interest under the Ontario Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Seeing none, can I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting of February 13th, 2024, moved by Councillor Holyday. All in favor? Carried. Sorry, we don't have any public speakers. I am going to go through the agenda. Sorry, just a moment. Our first item is GG 11.1, cancellation or reduction or refund of property taxes or payments in lieu of taxes as of March 26, 2024. This is a hearing. I will hold that item down. GG 11.2, overview of the City of Toronto court services. As a presentation by staff. GG 11.3, amendment to blanket contract 4702-4891 with CBV Collection Services Limited for collection services for Provincial Offences Act fines for court services. Councillor Holyday is holding number 3. Number 4, GG 11.4, amendment to blanket contract number 4702-4406 with Electric Guild Limited for the provision of traffic painting, repainting, and custom painting services as required on roads and expressways within the City of Toronto for transportation services. I have some questions of staff on that. I'm going to hold that. Number 5, amendment to purchase order number 605-4342 to 373044 Ontario Limited, also known as TransCanada Construction for construction services for the Donald D. Summerville Pool for Parks, Forestry, and Recreation. Any holds? Seeing none, can I have somebody to move the recommendations? Councillor Mantis, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.6, amendment to purchase order number 6051147 to CIMA Canada Incorporated for the process and electrical condition assessment project, 2 upgrades project at the North Toronto Treatment Plant. Any holds? Can I have somebody move this? Councillor Holyday, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.7, amendment to non-competitive bridge contract 47025-369 with the Schindler Elevator Corporation for elevator and escalator maintenance and repairs. Any holds? Moved by Councillor Holyday, all in favor? That carries. Sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Burnside, I need you to put your camera back on for votes. Councillor Burnside, if you can't put your camera on, could you acknowledge your vote? There it is. Sorry, Councillor Burnside, can you wave your hand? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Number 8, GG 11.8, award of document 4322801-044 to Viola Management Incorporated for local road resurfacing for engineering and construction services. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Burnside, all in favor? That carries. Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. 11.9, award of a request for a proposal, document 3580308-056 to Safedesign Apparel Limited for the supply and delivery of station wear, trousers, and shirts for Toronto Fire Services Division. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Burnside, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.10, non-competitive contract for Esri Canada Limited for proprietary geographic information systems, software licenses, cloud subscriptions, and related maintenance. Any holds? So moved by Councillor Holyday. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. GG 11.11, application for approval to expropriate easements for the construction of the Black Creek Sanitary Trunk Sewer Relief System, Stage 1 in wards 5, 6, and 7. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Mantis, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.2, expropriation of properties for the St. Clair Avenue West Transportation, Master Plan, Stage 2, Ward 9. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Burnside, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.13, permanent road closure, Eglinton Avenue West, west of Croham Road in wards 5, 8, and 9. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Holyday, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.14, Fleet Services Report for the City of Toronto's fleet availability and utilization rates. Any holds? Can I have a mover? Councillor Burnside, all in favor? That carries. GG 11.15, protecting the security of confidential attachments to council and committee reports. Any holds? Thank you to staff for this report. Much appreciated. I will move it. All in favor? That carries. GG 11.16, update on the procurement for temporary seating expansion at Toronto Stadium to support of the FIFA World Cup 2026 hosting. I have some questions of staff on this item. I'm going to hold this one. And we'll go back to the first item, which was compulsory public hearing. GG 11.1, cancellation, reduction, and refund of property taxes or payments in lieu of taxes as of March 26, 2024 hearing. No speakers, no amendment? Sorry? There is an amendment, okay. If I can have the amendment on the screen. For 2024, GG 11.1, that recommendation number 1 be amended to read as follows. The General Government Committee approve the individual tax appeal applications made pursuant to Section 323 of the City of Toronto Act 2006, resulting in tax reductions excluding phase-in capping amounts identified in the detailed hearing report marked as Appendix A, excluding the following applications. Ward number W3, appeal number 202-31034, property address 379 Prince Edward Drive North, roll number 1919-01-290-00700. Casey, did you want to explain this as your last meeting as the treasurer before you have a long, happy, healthy retirement? Or are you all good?
I'm good, Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right. And on behalf of the committee, I would like to wish you a long, very long, happy, healthy retirement. Thank you for all of your very hard work and dedication. I know over the years you've compiled an amazing team behind you, and I want to thank you on behalf of the city and look forward to your incoming replacement. And thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
We still need to vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Item as amended, all in favor? That carries. Casey, take the rest of the week off. All right, our next item is GG 11.2. Overview of the City of Toronto's Court Services Division. We have a presentation from staff. Good morning. Morning. You can start whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. I'm really pleased to be here today to talk a little bit about the Court Services Division. I'm Diane Cassius. I'm the Director for Court Services for the City of Toronto. And I brought with me 2 of my senior management team members. So Veronica Edwards, who's the Senior Manager for Courts and Tribunal Operations, and Clair Genim-Tor, who is the Manager for our Business Intelligence and Performance Unit. And so I'm really pleased to be here today. It's important that the committee and the public understand what our mandate is in courts. If you can turn to the next page. Clara, thank you. This here is a diagram that shows all of our senior management team in court services. You know, we have 4 main areas: court and tribunal operations, finance and administration, planning and liaison, and business planning, performance, and intelligence. And I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to say that behind, you know, the senior management team, there are hundreds of staff who every single day help us run these court services and tribunal operations, and are very dedicated to that cause, running these operations, obviously through a pandemic, and rain or shine on any given day. Just in terms of our mandate, we administer justice services to the public through 3 of our provincial offences courts in Toronto and 4 of our city's tribunals, which council has directed. And just as a reminder, those are the Administrative Penalty Tribunal that currently hears appeals related to parking under the APS system, the Toronto Local Appeal Body, the Toronto Licensing Tribunal, and the new multi-tenant housing licensing tribunal, which comes into effect on March 31st. Claire? One second, I'm just a technical issue here. So we provide services to over 1.8 million customers annually, and that's throughout our court and tribunal operations. Usually our revenue sits between 95 million to over a little bit 100, and we're projecting about 100 million in 2024. I'm proud to say that we have the largest provincial offences court in Ontario, and we work very diligently with all of our other municipal counterparts. So there's 53 other municipalities in Ontario. And so what we deliver is we provided a little bit of a summary there, but we provide administration and courtroom support for hearings resulting from offenses under the Provincial Offences Act and city bylaws. We serve all kinds of individuals, so defendants, applicants, parties, participants, enforcement officers, prosecutors, paralegals, and we work very, very closely with the Ontario Court of Justice and the judiciary. In 2023 alone, there were approximately 796,000 charges that we processed through our system. With respect to tribunals dispute resolution, we do act as a secretary and provide administrative support to our 4 tribunals. The city currently has 11 adjudicative boards, and we administer 4 of them. And again, we provide case management and administrative support for them to resolve appeal hearings for municipal licensing, multi-tenant housing, administrative penalties, and committee of adjustment decisions. And in 2023, we conducted over 18,000 tribunal appeal hearings. Now, with respect to defaulted fine collection management, this has been an area of priority for court services for a number of years. We have worked very diligently with the Auditor General to come up with strategies to address the outstanding fine amounts. And we are currently on track to be collecting a certain amount of fines per year. So in 2023, we collected over 25 million in default fines. And we are working very aggressively with the Auditor General to deal with those other outstanding fines. And I'll just take a moment to digress. During Budget Committee, we did talk a little bit about this issue. We have 585 million in outstanding fines. About 170 million of that we inherited from the province when the courts were brought over to the city. And the rest, we are working very diligently to try and collect. So we have different levels of collection agencies. We have different levels of, intervention on these matters. And it is a priority area for court services. And with respect to court case management, we provide frontline administrative and customer support for all the public that come to our counters and do call-ins. And also, request appeal hearings through our tribunals. And we've served about 559,000 customers through our tribunal operations. And so what we thought we'd do here is just show a little bit about our locations. So we have 3 main court locations. Toronto South, which is at Queen Street, Old City Hall. Toronto East, which is at Markham Road, and Toronto West, which is the York Civic Centre. And on Adelaide, we have our corporate offices, where Clair's team, a lot of the corporate staff sit, and a lot of the force in between all the data and auditing and performance management that we do for the city. The Administrative Penalty Tribunal and the Toronto Local Appeal Body are located at 40 Orchard View Boulevard. And we have the Toronto Licensing Tribunal and Multi-Tenant Housing Licensing Tribunal coming on board at the end of this month that are located at the East York Civic Centre on Coxwell Avenue. And we will be moving to the St. Lawrence Market North, which is a new location. So our corporate offices will be combined with the courtrooms at Old City Hall, and we will hope to be moving in there later this year. So as you can see by the next slide, we do interact with a number of areas throughout City of Toronto. They are listed there for your review. We also have very strong relationships with our municipal partners through the Municipal Court Managers Association of Ontario. I am currently the vice president for that association. We also deal very directly with the Ontario Municipal Tax and Revenue Association and the Municipal Finance Officers Association. Some of our provincial partners include Ministry of Attorney General, Ministry of Transportation, the Ontario Court of Justice, and the Ontario Provincial Police. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about some of our recent accomplishments. You know, obviously through the pandemic, we had to adjust operations very quickly. So we have successfully provided access to justice for the public by supporting simultaneously court and tribunal appearances, both virtually and in person at our various locations. Given the recent council approval to proceed with the multi-tenant housing tribunal, you know, we worked very closely and diligently with all our city partners on that front with the overall multi-tenant housing framework that's been developed. And as I indicated, that will be online at the end of the month. We've led the implementation plan to advance the expansion of administrative penalty system, which will include red light camera and automated speed enforcement violations, and that's something that was recently approved by council. And we're always looking to streamline provincial offences courts to, depending on what's happening at the provincial level and any legislative changes that they might put forward. So, you know, specifically, you know, we've sort of modified our operations to deal with Bill 177, which introduced a number of changes that allows the clerk of the court to review certain applications, things that usually a justice of the peace would review, as well as Bill 46, which amended the Provincial Offences Act to allow court clerks to reopen certain convictions. So those are things that we worked very diligently to implement within the city. We've also expanded the use of online platforms, sort of catering to what the public and the customer experience is when you visit one of our court locations. So we've upgraded our front desk operations and also our online service for court case lookup. And as I sort of talked about before, you know, our goal is always to enhance collections, processes, and rates. And we are working very, very closely with the Auditor General, who just featured sort of some of the accomplishments of courts during their annual report that was just tabled. You know, some of the improved processes that we've done there is the addition of collections agencies that are specifically tasked with collecting old and difficult fines. You know, a number of our fines are very, very old and date back to 1970, 1980. And those are the ones that we inherited from the provincial government. And as you can appreciate, as a fine gets older and older, sometimes it's more difficult to collect. So we do actually adhere to the write-off policy that was approved by council. And we'll be coming forward later this year on recommendations in terms of write-offs for some of our collection unpaid fines. And just a quick look, snapshot at 2024 and beyond, because some of these things obviously take a number of years and some concerted effort. You know, we continue to support the multi-tenant housing framework with the implementation of the tribunal. We continue to support Vision Zero, road safety, and manage the growth in charge volumes, transitioning the administration of automated speed enforcement and red light cameras to an administrative penalty system that will be effective November 1st. And always, as we're doing our operations and taking a look at our policies and procedures, we ensure that we are aligned with the city's strategic priorities, including embedding equity within our divisional processes and procedures. One of the things that we are diligently looking at is our performance measurement framework and how we sort of assess the standards by which we operate and, you know, where we are in terms of meeting those standards. And we're developing a 5-year strategic plan that takes into account some of the key priorities from this year that will, you know, continue on into future years. One of the major accomplishments we hope this year is to, as I mentioned, relocate our corporate operations and the courtrooms at Old City Hall to St. Lawrence Market North. You know, as we take a look at our operations and as, you know, technology advances, it's always important for us to make sure that we are staying on top of recent trends and best practices. So we will be developing a courts digital transformation strategy, which looks at a new case management system to better track and report on cases before the courts and assist with collections efforts. And we are also advancing the development of innovative solutions for court services by upgrading courtroom audio visual hardware to support the expansion of hybrid court hearings. And as I mentioned, collections is a top priority for us. We are constantly working very closely, as I mentioned, with the Auditor General and internally with our different collections agencies and different strategies to try and collect on those defaulted fines. And so that's sort of the snapshot of court services for the City of Toronto. And again, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to all the staff that help support these operations every single day, including the Senior Manager, Veronica, the managers, and the supervisors on the ground. Does anybody have any questions?
Councillor Holiday, questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. A couple things in there. I know that court services actually is quite broad with the different tribunals that you look after. Is the T-Lab one of them?
T-Lab is one of them, yes.
I received an interesting question from a resident fairly recently in the context of a case. And he was actually, I hear it's pretty rare, but he was awarded costs. And I just wondered how the collection of costs occurs, or do we get involved in that? Awards of costs, I should be clear.
Veronica, do you know? So we do, I mean, we administer everything regarding the tribunal, so it would be collection of costs as well.
Okay, and is there any way to allow consideration of outstanding costs to factor into the work that the tribunal does? It was an interesting case. It was the processing of a certain address, and then it came back to the tribunal again later on. Or sorry, at least the Committee of Adjustment, and then potentially the tribunal later on. So does this work together, or?
The tribunals are independent, so they're not influenced by any decisions made prior, right? They view each case in and of itself based on the information provided to it. So they do retain that independent nature. And even us in courts, although we administer the tribunals, we do not get involved in any hearings or, you know, specific decisions that are made through those tribunals.
Okay. So I want to talk about collections, because that was more about an award from basically through the tribunal from one citizen to another. Collections, we talked about it extensively at audit in 2018. There were really big numbers, but there was also a lot of work laid out. Would you be able to tell the committee a bit more if you come back later this year? I think you mentioned that there was a report planned on write-off of debt. Would you be opposed to telling us a bit more of an expanded story about where we sit with all of this?
No, I think that would be great. You know, we did discuss it quite a bit at the Budget Committee, but I think it's important for people to understand the real efforts that are going into collecting these defaulted fines. And it's an effort that, you know, we actually welcomed the Auditor General's recommendations on that. And in fact, because of those recommendations and the close working relationship that we've had, we were successful in collecting $16.6 million more than what the Auditor General had actually projected. So that is an area I'm happy to, when we discuss that write-off policy, provide a little bit more detail, and I'm happy to meet with your office in advance just to make sure that we have the level of detail that you're looking for.
I know one of the things we recently dealt with at council was the movement of certain types of fines from the provincial offense category to administrative penalty. Does that represent a net change or a net pressure to your organization to deal with? Especially, I should say, especially around the collection of outstanding debt.
No debt is collected either way. It's important to understand that with an administrative penalty system, it's a penalty, not an offense. So there are different rules with respect to collection. Under the Provincial Offences Act, we're permitted to go to collection agencies. We're also permitted to charge back the cost of that collection to any person that has defaulted on a fine. With the administrative penalty system, it is a bit different. Currently, Revenue Services oversees the parking administrative penalty system. It is not within the court system. I mean, red light cameras and automated speed enforcement make up about 65% of our revenue. And so, it's around $70 million a year. The only difference would happen is if council directs an increase in the number of cameras, then that would also increase the amount of revenue that's coming forward. And so, we work very closely with revenue to diligently collect that. And as part of a report back, you will see sort of some of the efforts that revenue has made as well with respect to the parking APS system.
So do we know, or can you say, temporal difference aside, and what I mean by that is the administrative penalty system is a little newer, so the debt would be a little newer, right? And that affects collection rates. Are we equal or different in terms of success in collecting debt under the administrative penalty system versus the provincial offense system?
So parking currently oversees the parking administrative penalty system. The one for red light camera and automated speed enforcement won't be in place until November 1st. So we won't know until that system is in place. However, what I will say is this, that the courts, regardless of that administrative penalty system, still will be overseeing and monitoring any red light camera tickets or automated speed enforcement tickets that happen prior to November 1st. And we will also continue to administer any red light tickets or speed tickets that regular police officers give when they pull someone over at the side of the road.
Okay, and the last one's a really quick one. It's an easy one. Would you agree that if you bring a report forward, if there's anything that you need from council to help you with this, would you be agreeable to raising it, even if it's us asking for the province for help or assistance with any of the legislation? Just to make sure that administrative penalty collection is as successful or better than Provincial Offence Act collection. Anything that we need?
Yes, I think it's important, and I know council in the past, including the city managers, others have lobbied, the provincial finance ministry as well as the federal government, right? And so we have a number of different strategies in place with respect to tax roll and other things, and there are always good things that we can look at. So, it would be great if committee and council continue to support the efforts that we have on this.
Sorry, Chair, I have one more. It's also really fast. I had heard one time that sometimes organizations bundle and sell debt. Probably more in the private sector. Are we able to do that as a government, to take something and say, look, there's poor prospect of collecting it, but could we actually sell it to a third party and then let them figure out what the value is?
Not with respect to provincial offenses.
Okay.
So we are restricted. So we're not able to sell the debt because the outstanding fines or debts owed to the Crown.
Right.
And are owed in perpetuity. So it is a different system. With respect to the APS system, we probably have a little bit more ability to influence that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chair.
very much.
Thank you, Councillor Holliday. Other questions of staff on this item? Seeing none. Speakers? Councillor Holliday?
Thank you. It shouldn't be a surprise based on my questions. What I'm really hoping, and my motion is a report request to take a closer look at the issue of outstanding collectible debt. And I don't mean to create a whole volume of extra work, because I understand a report is coming later on about write-offs, and I thought that would be a good time to talk about this a little bit more broadly and maybe add some content to the report. I think it's valuable as a committee, and yes, it speaks to revenue, but it also speaks to public confidence in government and the system that we have before us. So hopefully committee members and staff can support us in our ask. But the few parts is just about, our outstanding debt, the accumulation of it, how collection works. Are there opportunities to enhance collection? And of course, I don't want to forget about all of the 31 or 32 recommendations from the Auditor General in 2018 and how we're doing with that. So I asked for that by the end of 2024, which hopefully matches the timeline for the other report that was questioned. And other than that, thank you very much for speaking to us today, because I think this is an important topic.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Are you okay with that deadline?
Yeah, I mean, the Auditor General provided a lot of detail in their annual report, which just went forward to Council. But we will be coming forward with a write-off report, and as part of that, we're happy to provide that information.
And for clarity, I don't need sort of every recommendation one by one analyzed. I think just generally speaking, are we progressing on that front and beyond what was talked about in budget, say?
Yeah. And I just will say, out of the 31 recommendations, we fully implemented 28 of them. So we are working very closely with the Auditor General. They're very pleased with the progress that we've made. And we will continue to work with them and our partners to make sure that this is a priority. Thank you.
Just want to make sure we don't send you off to do something.
Nope.
Can't meet the deadline, huh?
We're good.
Okay. Thank you. Other speakers on this item? Seeing none. Thank you very much for coming in this morning. Thank you very much for all of your very diligent and hard work. Very much appreciated.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
So we have an amendment by Councillor Holyday. All in favor? That carries. And
Yeah, because you will need to receive the presentation as well because you approved something on it.
motion to receive?
That's the item. Sure.
Okay. All right. So I don't need to vote on the item? Nope. Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next item.
We can deal with the one I held too, I just released it.
Okay, all right. Which is our next item, Councillor Holyday, GG 11.3, amendment to blanket contract 47024 891 with CB Collection Agency Services Limited for the collection services for Provincial Offences Act fines for court services. You're releasing it, moving the recommendation?
Yes, Chair. Thank you for answering my questions on the previous item.
Okay, all in favor of 11.3? Carried. And our next item is GG 11.4, amendment to blanket contract number 47024406 with Guild Electric Limited for the provision of traffic paint repainting and customer painting as required on roads and expressways within the City of Toronto Traffic Services Limited. And sorry, does anybody have any questions of staff on this item before I do? Seeing none. So I'm just trying to understand from staff, I don't quite understand. So at one point it says the contract is overspent due to the refreshment of all priority locations. And then somewhere else it said that part of this contract is the lines had to be repainted. And then when I understand that some of the repainting was missed. So I'm not really understanding how this was done. Or somebody could explain this to me.
To the chair. So the amendment is to essentially address the fact that in this particular year, 2023, we were able to complete the standard approach to painting or refreshing lanes and lines, and that is to apply 2 coats. Historically, there have been reasons why we haven't been able to apply 2 coats, whether it be for weather reasons or the start of the contract. But in 2023, we were able to apply 2 coats, which is the standard approach when refreshing paint lanes. And the 2023 budget had not estimated that we would able to achieve that, but in fact we did. So we are in fact able to move forward with applying the standard approach of 2 coats of paint every time we do a refreshing.
Okay, and sorry, this wasn't included in your budget submission for 2024, or where's the $650,000 coming from?
Through the chair, yes. It was included in the 2024 operating budget. So the operating budget for 24 includes the amendment amount, and also it includes moving forward paying for 2 coats of paint.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Any other questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, I will move the recommendations. All in favor? That carries. Our next item. Sorry,
Yep, yeah, so also.
16. Our next item is GG 11.16, update on procurement for temporary seating expansion at Toronto Stadium in support of the FIFA World Cup 2026 hosting in Ward 10. So any questions of staff on this item? Councillor Holyday?
Thanks, Chair. On page 2 of the report, 2 of 5, I think it's the supplemental, there's a table that says financial impact summary of recommended contract. But what it really does is break down some of the parts of the contract. And I wondered if staff could explain the difference or what goes into each of the sections. So the first one is design and seating manifest completion. Should tell us what that is. Procurement completion, permitting installation commencement, tell us what that is. And then finally, installation completion, maintenance, and dismantle. Just help me understand this generally, it'd be great.
Through the chair, design and seating manifest completion. Here, what we are doing is we want to make sure that we have fulsome drawings that will, technical drawings which will show how the structure will be created, how the seating will be installed, as we need to deliver a manifest of all the seats that will be available for the tournament. Procurement completion, this refers to any subcontracting that the successful vendor has to complete, making sure that they follow all of our procurement rules. And we also have to complete all of the permit submissions so that we can commence the work. And the final phase, the installation, completion, maintenance. So once the structure and the seats have been installed, we are asking the vendor to have a complement of staff on the site to maintain the structures for any incidental damage that may occur, to make sure that the stadium is always in compliance with health and safety requirements.
So I want to just go a little further to understand, are all of these soft costs, in other words, effort, labor, design, maintenance?
We would consider the design as a soft cost, and we would consider all the others as hard costs, labor, whatnot.
Okay. Just again, help me a little more clearly. The bulk of, I can imagine this is a big kit of parts that gets assembled. We don't have pictures of it, but I'm guessing that these are elevated grandstands, probably high in the air, that fit around the stadium. All of this, am I reading, understanding correctly, is to build all of that. You have to bring workers on site, put all the pieces together. Does any of it involve buying the actual product, or the benches, the stairs, the structural elements, or are we renting all of that?
Through the chair, we are renting it all.
Okay. So at the end of expending these costs, the stands are built, they're installed, they're used, they're taken away, and we don't have any residual. They're sent back to wherever they're stored, that sort of thing.
Precisely.
Are they custom built for this installation here, or is this a generic product?
The product that we have chosen is something that has the ability to transform and be manipulated to adjust for site conditions. So we can change the rise and run of seat rows according to whatever our desire is. So, but it is not custom to the point that it will always exist in a rental inventory.
Okay.
It is not going to be. It's not going to end up in a dumpster, for instance.
So, I mean, maybe further on that, just to understand the economics. I don't know anything about seating, but I'm genuinely curious. When we talked about the snow clearing contract, we learned that a big part of the contract is the cost of the contractor to go out and spend the capital to buy the equipment, right? And they amortize that over the years, and you're not just paying for the workers, you're paying for the equipment itself. Within these numbers, is the company amortizing the cost of the solid product?
Through the chair, again, we've chosen them on the basis that it is existing inventory. So we have obviously a company and their subcontractors. Their subcontractor being a local company, we're using as much rental product as possible. The main company, Arena, they would be bringing rental stock which already exists.
And so that rental stock could be used at other stadiums or other I don't know, the Honda Indy, they put all those grandstands in there, that same sort of stuff?
Precisely. This is the same company that will be fulfilling contracts for the Olympics. They've done other major events like the Commonwealth Games. So it's a stock that is continuously replenished, and it exists for us.
So that stock's probably used all around the world?
Correct.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Holiday. Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Other questions on this item? Seeing none. So I just had a couple, and my first one was around seating. So it's temporary seating. After FIFA's done, it's going to be removed. So if MLSE comes back and says, you know, we want this seating to be permanent, and so is that a whole different negotiation with MLSE after FIFA, or how does that play out?
Through the chair, yes, that would be another negotiation that we would have with MLSE. And obviously, as our project manager, they're very aware of the plans and the items that we have in place. So some of those discussions on items as part of the capital project that would remain permanent are being discussed now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so in the report, so it says, so it's a 2-envelope system. The winning proponent had an overall score of 94%. What was the overall score of the other proponent?
Through the chair, I'd actually have to look that up. I can tell you after, or if you want to give me a couple seconds, I can look up the spreadsheet.
Can't tell me now.
It was not part of the report, so I did not have it up on my screen. I apologize.
Was it close?
It was close, but not significantly close. There was approximately a 10-point variant.
Sorry, 10 point?
10-point overall,
10 point.
correct.
Okay, all right. And then my understanding is it Arena Services? Sorry, they're based in the States. So are the actual infrastructure, is that coming from the States as well, or do they still have to source that? And I guess because I'm asking, so awarding the contract, they have to source something that's custom made. There's a cost overrun built into this. Are they on time, or like how do we hold them accountable?
I'm trying to remember all of your questions, Chair. So the substructure, the scaffolding that will hold everything up, will be sourced from the local companies. The seating that is the proprietary piece, which we built on top of the scaffolding, that is coming from the Arena company, and they may draw from any of their subsidiaries, be it from the UK, from the US. So it is potentially coming from worldwide. We are building our form of contract right now where we are outlining all of our potential liquidated damages should they come in late for either the build before or the removal afterwards.
Okay, because it says a 15% contingency fund. So the onus on them is to meet their contract. If they, for whatever reason, they can't source the seats, or the seats come in higher than they're anticipating, is this built into the $5 million, or what is the 15%? Is that if we have problems on our end or their end or both, or?
To the chair, it could be any of those types of eventualities. Could be weather delays. It could be additions to scope that may come from FIFA. And obviously that is a piece that we look to control at every outturn. The $5 million, also for clarity's sake, will not be included in the contract to them, but will be held with our team so that they do have to prove that there is a cost escalation.
Okay, and in terms of contingency, the 15%, does that take into inflationary costs as well? Or can they come back on us once this is awarded and say, you know, due to inflation, you know, these are our increased costs and we have, you know, we've used up the 15% contingency fund. How does is inflation factored in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And then I'm not sure if this is a Stephen Conforti question around variance reporting for FIFA and all of this. How does this variance reporting get done in the city budget?
Through the chair. So what we have is costs are embedded in various divisions across the city. So they would be reported through the variances, both on the operating and the capital side, within each of the programs that are supporting the game. So that would be, in this instance, you would see it in the Exhibition Place Capital Program variance report.
Okay, all right. I think those are all my questions. Councillor Holiday, did you have any more? Or? Okay, so let me just check with online. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Mantis or Burnside? Nope, okay. Councillor Holiday?
Thanks, Chair. I'll be brief, but I am genuinely curious. Could someone tell me, I gleaned from the previous answer that the substructure, the scaffolding, I'm guessing the thing that elevates these seats high is locally sourced, sounds to be fairly generic. Then there's a structure placed on top, which is the seating. Is that seating being custom built for this application by the company, or is it generic stock?
Through the chair, it is generic stock.
Okay, so there's nothing radical or special other than there's probably only some certain number of suppliers for this stuff. Okay, all right, and then all the expertise and the engineering that you outlined there. Okay, the other question is there a picture or something? So sometimes we get links to the bid panel for these that we can go look at ourselves. This one didn't contain it. Is there a sketch or some drawings? And then further to that, it's probably the more important question. Have people like Exhibition Place and the tenants like Canadian National Exhibition, have they seen what this looks like so they understand? And I'm assuming here, because I haven't seen the picture, that the stadium kind of grows in footprint to make this work.
Yeah, through the chair, there are design drawings, and we've been working through a number of folks to work through those details, including FIFA, Gensler, of course, CAI-Con, and we've had meetings with the tenants at Exhibition Place to review what the plans are, sort of move in, move out, so that they're aware of any impacts to them as tenants on the grounds.
Is it really big? I mean, we don't have the picture, but it's, 17,000 seats, so I'm assuming you're putting them on.
There is a picture, Councillor Holiday.
Is there? I couldn't find it. Where?
Yeah, it is pretty significant on both the south and north ends of the stadium.
Sorry, it's not in the report. You can Google it.
Okay, so these are the open ends of this. Well, one is definitely opened, and so you're building outwards, so it will take up space.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then it all comes down.
That's right.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you for spending time answering those questions.
Of course, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Holiday. And so my last one, so with all the due diligence and the questions we asked you today, we're not going to see you back here about seating before FIFA.
Through the chair, we hope we don't see you again, definitely. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Councillor Holiday, did you want to move the recommendations? Sure. All in favor of the recommendations? Carried. And item is amended. All in favor? Carried. Matthew? Bills? We have one bill. Thank you very much. Looking forward to FIFA. If you Google FIFA 2026 BMO Field, there are pictures. All right. I'm going to move that the confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the General Government Committee acting under delegated authority at meeting 11 on March 26, 2024 be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2026. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Holiday, all in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to staff. And have a great day, everybody.